The Pink Pedalway's western section runs from the Norwich and Norfolk University Hospital, through the UEA, down the avenues, through Chapelfield Gardens, and ends at St Andrew's Plain in the city centre. So we start the journey at the hospital and set off on quite a nice off-road cycle track, shared use of course. But fairly shortly after we start, we come to a new building extension that's been built straight across the cycle track. No alternative arrangement has been provided, so you just have to ride in the car park and then find your way back onto the cycle track. That's not really very good. But the rest of it through the hospital grounds is quite good. Shared use pavement, of course, so there are people walking along it who, when you ring your bell, start to walk towards you. This would be so much better as a proper segregated cycle route, as they all would be. This ride was actually recorded in 2 takes because, well, things happened. Nothing serious, but it was enough to mess up the recording. They were both recorded at about the same time of day, which is between about 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning. And I've joined the 2 takes together at a point where it isn't too noticeable, but you will see it. So we come down the hill and cross over a service road to the hospital. And then cross over Coney Lane, where we join the Purple Pedalway. We turn left here and head along Coney Lane. Now this is quite a nice cycle track, but to be honest it's a bit narrow and it's also somewhat overgrown. So yeah, you do have to be careful. Watch out for the signpost blocking the cycle track, which is quite a common thing in Norwich. And of course it's a shared use as well, so it's not just bicycles on here, it's also pedestrians. And this is a case in point where shared use pavements really don't work terribly well, because people coming along here on their bicycles are going to work and they really don't want to be hanging about. Fairly shortly we turn right into the UEA sports fields, and at this point the Purple Pedalway leaves. This is quite a pleasant ride, I have to say. Bird song, yeah, trees, grass, lovely, yeah, very nice. Now this whole area was due to be redeveloped as part of the UEA Sports complex. That seems to have fallen through, and I think that's a good thing really. This is a nice peaceful valley, and it wouldn't be good to see lots of building going on here. We cross over the River Yare, and a very bumpy section now as we head towards the UEA campus. Yeah, I said it's a bit bumpy, it's actually dire. The surface on this section needs replacing, it needs relaying. It's terrible. Cross a little mini roundabout and watch out for the buses down here as we come into Chancellor's Drive. Chancellor's Drive is a long, straight, uphill road. Of course, we've just crossed the river. Norwich has valleys, and this is one of the climbs. It's not too difficult, but it is a bit of a slog up the hill, and you just have to keep pedalling. So this bit slows down a bit. Chancellor's Drive, of course, is the main access route for all the university traffic, and so it can get quite busy down here. But not today. And as with all the really good hills, it saves the worst bit till last, and just as we get near the top, you get the steepest bit. Eventually we climb up to the top of the hill and we come to another little mini roundabout where we join University Drive and turn left. We don't stay on University Drive for very long. We take a right and we head down Cow Drive. On the left we have the huge Norwich Sports Park with all sorts of gyms and training facilities and a first class Olympic standard swimming pool. Cow Drive used to be the entrance to Earlham House when it was actually a private house and the park was its private grounds. And before that it was the entrance to the farm that used to be here. Now it's this shared use pavement, which could be a bit wider, and there's signs all the way along saying give way to pedestrians. So as a commuting route it could be better, but it's quite pleasant, and of course it's off-road. couple of bumpy bits, which I suppose is designed to slow cyclists down, and it gets quite busy as we get to the Bluebell Road end. At the end we turn left onto Bluebell Road. It's an interesting situation down here because Bluebell Road actually has a reasonable quality cycle track all the way along it, from Eaton Village right the way up to Five Ways Roundabout, where it connects to the Earlham Green Lane cycle track and the cycle track heading up Earlham Road to UEA. A part of this cycle track, further up towards Earlham Road, was one of the first bits of cycle track to be built in Norwich in the early 1970s. None of this is actually on the pedalway network though. So then we cross over Bluebell Road on the Toucan crossing. So once over Bluebell Road we turn right into the avenues. Normally, at this time in the morning, the avenues is very busy with lots of cars and buses and bicycles heading towards the UEA. This morning, in fact both times I did this ride, very little traffic. I have no idea why. Maybe it's because of the pandemic, people haven't started coming back to work yet, I don't know. The story of the avenues, though, is an interesting one. When the Pink Pedalway was being planned, this section of the pedalway was acknowledged to be a very busy and very important cycling route, which it is. It carries large numbers of cycles usually, and it was going to have proper off-road segregated cycle tracks. Just before they were going to build it, the council suddenly noticed there were trees along the avenues. That apparently would have made it too expensive, and so we got these painted cycle tracks, and to be fair, speed humps. Today though, it's nice. There's very little traffic and it all works well. Of course, the sudden realisation that there were trees on the avenues had nothing to do with vast amounts of money that was spent on tombland further along the Pink Pedalway, but we'll gloss over that for now. We do have another video which we made shortly after all this opened, which shows just how bad this section of road can be when it gets busy. I'll put a link to that in the description. But yes, as I say, without all the traffic, this is actually quite a nice arrangement. And although the trees may have come as a surprise to Norwich City Council when they built this, they do actually make for quite a nice cycling trip, especially in springtime. It's also worth mentioning there is an off-road segregated cycle track here on our left. That was built in, I think, around 1990. And it's not quite up to what we might expect for a properly built cycle track, but it's not too bad, and if you prefer not to ride on the road, that's the place to go. And coming up is the edit I mentioned at the start of this video, and so now it's a few days ago, but about the same time of day. As we approach the traffic lights on Mile End Road, the cycle lane allows you to legitimately undertake the stopped traffic. It's legal to do this, it's perfectly fine, but do be careful of traffic turning left at the junction, because the drivers probably won't see you. Here we have an advanced stop line and an advanced bicycle traffic light, so you get green about 10 seconds before the cars go. We cross over Mile End Road and we're into the second part of the avenues. So no cycle lanes down here, but we have got traffic calming, and we've also got quite a nice hill now. At this stage it's a sort of hill that's actually not too difficult to cycle up. It's a pleasant ride in both directions, and going this way it's especially pleasant. There are a couple of little chicanes where we have cycle bypasses. The trouble with the kind of traffic calming we've got down here is that if you hit one of these bumps on a bike, it can be quite unpleasant. They're quite severe, so you have to go either side of them, which means if you want to pass another bicycle, you have to pull out right into the centre of the road. And it also means that cars which try and straddle these bumps often don't give you quite the clearance they should do. And the second pinch point with bypass. And there is also some on-road parking by the park, and this can get a little bit hairy as cars very rarely bother to stop when a cyclist is coming towards them. We go past this little centre island with a young tree on it, and then the avenues becomes Avenue Road, and we get the hill. The temptation when you go down this hill, of course, is to put your head down and barrel along, and you get good speed up down here, and the speed humps make it fun. But do beware of traffic pulling out from the 3 roads on the left. Really good advice if you do get some speed up down this hill is don't ride hard on the left. Keep in the middle of the road, as long as there's nothing coming the other way, of course. It's worth mentioning that we've passed more bicycles than cars on this trip from the UEA, and they haven't all been standard bicycles. And here is a cargo bike, with parents taking their kid to school. And once down the bottom, we go up the top again. At the top of the hill, we reach Park Lane, where we join the Orange Pedalway as we turn right. Now, Park Lane can be horrendous for traffic, really bad down here. This is easily the worst section on the Pink Pedalway. The original plan was to close Park Lane at the junction of Avenue Road. That would have made what they call an LTN, a low traffic neighbourhood. But so many people who drive cars objected, and so the council couldn't do it. That was a real pity. Park Lane doesn't last very long, and we come to Unthanked Road. Now we turn left here and immediate right into Essex Street. Essex Street is a very interesting arrangement. It's a very narrow road with parking all the way along one side and contraflow cycling with an occasionally marked cycle lane. It's a tight fit for cyclists and cars. If there's a lorry coming up here or a van, it's very difficult to get past, but somehow it seems to work. There's a fairly steep hill at the start, but then it levels off and becomes flat. Going the other way, against the flow of traffic, you go over the brow of the hill, and first time it's let's say a surprise. And we turn left into Vauxhall Street, and the Orange Pedalway carries straight on through the park. Vauxhall Street can get busy, but mostly isn't. Again, this is a street the council wanted to close, but the car drivers lobbied it, so I had to keep it open. Eventually we get to a little bit of cycle track on the left, which we take, and that takes us to the Chapelfield Road cycle crossing, which has been recently upgraded and is actually quite something. It's a first class installation. When we get across Chapelfield Road, most people go straight on through the park. We'll follow the official cycle route around the edge of Chapelfield roundabout and into the park next to Chapelfield North. A nice little ride through the park here. Again, remember there's people walking around, dogs on leads, kids, that sort of thing, so pay attention. When we get to the end, we cross over at the point where Chapelfield North becomes Theatre Street, and we head down Little Bethel Street. This is lovely. It used to carry traffic, it used to carry double-decker buses along here. Now it's just a cycle street. And at the bottom we turn right into Bethel Street. Come along here for a bit past the Forum on the right and City Hall on the left. We turn left into St Peter's Street. Past the front of City Hall with the market on our right now. And then we go right into Jail Hill, down the hill past the Guildhall, and turn left into Exchange Street. Now Exchange Street at the time of making this video is supposed to be closed to traffic, but it's never been enforced and quite a few car drivers ignore the closure. Exchange Street, assuming it's still open, is one way down, so on the return trip you have to go a different route, which is up Madder Market and into Potter Gate and then left into Lower Goat Lane. At the bottom of Exchange Street, we turn right into St Andrews. And a short ride along St Andrews, and we come to St Andrews Plain and the end of this trip.